Hello everyone, so today I'd like to share with you the apps that I use for school, specifically programming. Although some of the apps I'll share here I think would also be applicable for those not in computer science. So on my computer, I have Arch Linux installed and I'm using the Gnome desktop environment. First, let's start with probably my most used app, Obsidian. I use this app for almost every note-taking that I do. For instance, I use this app to write the script for this video. I also use it to take down programming notes such as when I'm learning a new language or a framework. For example, here's my notes on Flutter, which I created. So basically, when I try writing a code and it works, I would copy and paste that code here on Obsidian so that I can refer back to it later if I need to. So basically, Obsidian is like my own encyclopedia. It contains the things I learned both in programming and of course in other non-programming related school stuff. For example, here's my notes from a book that I was reading for one of my psychology electives. The thing I love the most about Obsidian is that it's lightweight and it's offline. So even if I have no internet connection, I know that I can use this app to take notes. I've also set some key bindings like searching for files, which is Ctrl-O, and the command palette, Ctrl-P. Next is Kitty. This app is mostly for programming, so if you're not a comp sci student, you may skip this part. Kitty is my terminal of choice. When I first used this terminal, it just worked really well and it has tons of theme options, so that's why I stuck with it. Then I use Fish as my shell of choice for autocomplete. Next, let's go to editing files. So you may not know this, but Firefox has a built-in PDF editor. As you can see here, you can just right-click a file and then open it with Firefox, and then once you're in Firefox, you have the option to add some text, add some images. I use this part of Firefox whenever I want to sign a PDF file because Adobe Acrobat is not available on Linux. As a computer science student, we need a reliable text editor to edit our codes, and my preferred editor is NeoVim. I'm not a genius or anything like that. In fact, I actually suck at coding sometimes. The main reason I use NeoVim is because it's faster than VS Code, at least in my computer since I'm using an 8th generation Intel Core CPU. I've also learned Vim key bindings in the past, so when I switch to NeoVim, there's not much of a learning curve as I'm also using a distro, specifically LazyVim. Anki. Anki is a tool for reviewing notes. For me, this is the best study hack I have ever used in college. It helps me recall information faster than if I had just reviewed that information the night before an exam. The concept behind Anki is that it uses spaced repetition. This allows you to periodically review your notes so you can transfer what you've learned to long-term memory. Without a doubt, this application helped me pass my classes in college, including my math classes like calculus. Next, let's move on to the extensions I use in the Gnome desktop environment. This might not be applicable for Linux distros not using Gnome since these extensions are specifically made for Gnome. In Gnome, I use this extension called Gnome Pomodoro. When I study or do any kind of work, I like using the Pomodoro technique because it helps me focus and it also allows me to take breaks from time to time so that I don't spend too much time on one task at once. The great thing about this extension is that you can configure how long the work is gonna be and how long the break is. Then you can use Ctrl-Alt-T to simply start the timer. When the timer ends, it shows a screensaver which blurs the desktop and displays the time you have left for a break. This, in conjunction with Gnome's well-being tools like movement reminders, ensures that I don't burn out and that I keep myself mentally and physically healthy. The next extension is called Just Connect. If you've used KDE before, this is just like KDE Connect but for GNOME. This extension syncs a notification between my phone and computer so that I can see both notifications in either devices. My favorite feature by far is the battery notification, wherein I would receive notification once my phone reaches 80% while charging. When I'm on my computer, there were times where I would forget that my phone is charging, and this feature definitely solves the problem and keeps my smartphone battery healthy. Another feature I like is the ability to instantly transfer files between my computer and my phone. It's very convenient as it doesn't require any wired cable to do so. There are other features here similar to the Apple ecosystem like the Clipboard Sync. I think this is really one of the coolest apps out there, so thanks KDE. These are some of the ways I use Linux on my computer. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more Linux related videos, then click the subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one.